Yeah, man. Boy, Josh, but it's work to be done. Work to be done. It's not just hot today. Very humid. So it's muggy. When it gets muggy, coupled with working, it gets draining, man. But we out here, man. I say no matter how hot it gets in New England, no matter how muggy it gets, it's still better than the snow. What's up, Kimberly? What's good, Terry? Hot and muggy is better than the snow, period. There's no contest. It is no competition. So, Kimberly Westring, you said, I gay, I can make you laugh. I can make you laugh. That's kind of funny. You put I'm gay, and then you type again I gay, and then you type I can make your laugh. Well, if you can make my laugh, then do it. But you know what? You said you're 10, but you like men. Now, see, you gonna have to get blocked because at 10 years old, the only thing you need to be liking is your books. But you got to get out of here. So we're gonna give you the big old blockaroo. Where's the black button? Remove. We're gonna we're gonna report you, and we're gonna call it child abuse report. And we're gonna remove all this. We're gonna go to your page. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. Somebody trolling. We don't got no time for that. We get rid of all that. We get rid of all that foolishness. But y'all see the title, man. I've been writing like a madman. I don't write with the pen and paper. I write, I audio record, and then I organize. That's how I write. I found a way to exercise my creative outlet of writing without necessarily having to be confined to a dark, quiet room with like a feather inkwell in my hand, searching the ether of my brain for new ideas. No. Like I'm constantly creating all the time, driving home. That's how the podcast was created. That's how the book is constructed. I'm doing essays. It's just, and it's like I'm doing this stuff more than I'm doing stand-up comedy as far as my creating. Because most famous comedians or just successful comedians in general, stand-up is just only one of the things that they do. They do stand-up at night, but they do television during the day, or Some of the greatest actors that we have throughout history, they started off as stand-up comedians. Billy Crystal, Tom Hanks, Kevin Pollak, Eddie Murphy, Dennis Leary. It's a lot of them, man. I could keep going. So, yeah, we see a few lifers like Dave Chappelle, where all they do is stand up. But in my experience, most of these stand up comedians, that get on, the stand up is just the starting point, and they have a myriad of interests. Bill Burr is a beast of a stand up, but he does voice acting, he does acting, he plays the drums, he flies helicopters. Being a good stand up comedian doesn't mean you only have to do stand up, but it could be argued that the best of stand up comedians only do stand up, if that makes sense. But this is one of those things. If you want to be the greatest whatever in the world, you sacrifice everything else. That's just what it is, man. That's just what it is, yo. Now I had a topic. I'm not gonna talk too much today, too. I always say that, but because I didn't talk so much to voice recorder and just synthesizing ideas, and I kind of want to save a lot of my good juicy stuff for my essays and for my books, not just the pod. If it comes out naturally, it comes out. And a lot of times, I don't want to feel too repetitive throughout my podcast, but a lot of us have this complex that the whole world is against us and out to get us. Or we have a specific enemy, like maybe an acquaintance that you see on a regular basis that you don't like, or you think they don't like you, or a coworker, a boss, a family member, or whatever. And I ask, you gotta ask yourself, are they truly your enemy? Like, a real enemy is actively trying to take your life or try to manipulate things in the world to give you a hard time and put you in harm's way. So obviously, there are people that are predatory, that are trying to literally take your life or consciously make your life inconvenient. But even those paper pushing individuals trying to make your life inconvenient in that way, there are legal things that you can do and protections that you have in place to help yourself. But I'm just saying, the overall everyday interactions with individuals that you see on a regular basis, they have to kill me, they have to destroy me. Are they really? You gotta ask yourself. If they're not trying to take your life or blatantly blocking you from things. And like I said, if somebody's blatantly trying to block you, there are ways around that. But I mean, if they physically ain't trying to take your life, or setting somebody up to take your life, or paying somebody to take your life, are they really your enemy? Really think that, ask yourself that question whenever you're dealing with somebody and you think they wronged you or they're out to get you. Now, if they and you have proof, like I said, you got to stand up for yourself. You got to speak out on it. But I'm just talking about the passive aggressive, subtle, this person doesn't like me. Like, why does it doesn't, when you really think about it, are they really your enemy? It doesn't matter. Now, it could be a boss, a situation where you may think a boss is maybe on you too much for whatever reason, micromanaging, you might perceive it as that. But a lot of times, if you try to perform your job to the T, the way you're supposed to, and you are not working to impress the boss, you are working to smoothly get the money as much as possible. And if you don't do your job effectively, that makes the job less smooth as far as getting your money. That's on you. That's something that you have to personally improve, you know? as far as an annoying or acquaintance. If you know they get a certain way when they drink certain drinks, or they're in a certain place, a certain atmosphere or environment, you don't have to be in those atmospheres and environments. You don't have to be around. It's not about avoidance out of fear. It's just choosing a different path for the sake of peace of mind. And even if you do happen to cross the paths and they say something condescending, or they want to be slick with the tongue, you don't have to react. You don't have to give it any energy or emotion. As long as they're not putting their hands on you, they can say a lie or whatever. But when it comes to lies and things like that, those that matter don't mind, and those that mind don't matter. People don't really care about you. They know the truth, so who cares about what some stranger says? I mean, I know it's an easier said than done thing, but it's one of those things that we have to be cognizant of and conscious of. And one way to check our emotions, I'm starting to learn is, and I don't know if I spoke about it yesterday, but I'll expound on it a little more. It starts with the breathing. The one autonomous thing that we do every single day is breathe. I think we take like 20,000 breaths a day. And it's the one autonomous bodily function that we can manually override and control ourselves to an extent. Because, you can only hold your breath before your body kicks in and makes you breathe. But a lot of times when we feel anxiety, riled up, aroused, whatever you want to call it, the first thing that happens is shortness of breath. We don't take full belly breaths anymore. We're breathing short in our chest. That gets less oxygen through our bloodstream, less oxygen to the brain. We feel more lightheaded. We make more rash decisions. We act out more impulsively because of it. So the key in a lot of this, I'm starting to learn, just to master it, the mastery of emotions and the mastery of how you control this flesh suit that we have in this physical existence. First thing is mastering that breathing. And I've spoken about breathing before. In the nose, slowly out the mouth. In the nose, out the mouth. Gives you a sense of calm. Makes things a little more clear. And when you're more clear-minded, you can think more logically. And you can see solutions more than you see stress. So that individual that you think is your mortal enemy, maybe the way they react to you is a reflection of maybe some of the things that you have to work on. Not for the sake of pleasing them, though. It ain't about pleasing them. Just for the sake of self-improvement. They just served as the litmus paper, the indicator. All things in life can be used for your benefit. It's just a matter of perspective. 1 second. People blasting at you, they're not your real enemy, man. Unless somebody's actively trying to harm you. Like I said, it's different. I'm making a distinction, a separation. And in nature, in the universe, there's uncontrollable things that happen, like hurricanes and bears mauling people, and these same unforeseen circumstances happen amongst humans. You might just come across a crazy drunk driver one day that'll cream your car, act crazy, random shooters. Yes, things like that happen. But in the grand scheme of things, and in comparison to the billions of people doing things on a daily basis, those things represent a fraction of the activity in this reality. But they are important and they do happen, and it is to be cognizant about it. But to be overly cognizant of something that is so minuscule as far as it happening in comparison to all the things that are happening on the planet, if you're just focusing on that, you're missing out on life. You're missing out on life. You're overly stressed. You're using precious bandwidth towards something that isn't necessary. Be conscious that things can go wrong, but don't be obsessed over things potentially going wrong. And even more so, be hyper focused in being prepared in the, as Murphy Law says, whatever can go wrong will go wrong in the inevitable circumstance that something does go wrong. That's what it's about. Yes, unforeseen circumstances happen. Some things just happen randomly. You can't control the random things that happen, but you can control how you react to it, even if you're not fully prepared. You can control the lesson that you can take out of it. I think it's better to go through life not being concerned about who's your enemy, who doesn't like you, who you don't like. Like, you don't gotta love everybody, you know. Some person doesn't really rock with you, you don't rock with them, whatever. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. Eventually, just write them off your heart. Don't even pay them no mind. My goal is to get to the point where some individuals who may have had issues with me for whatever reason, because I don't have any issues with anybody personally, but anybody that has issues with me, I want to get to the point where I want to condition myself to just literally forget their name and completely forget their experience. Erase that from my mind. To me, that's like a next level of psychology or elevation. To the point where they see me, hey, man, I say, honestly, I don't remember you. I don't know. And the funny thing is, this has happened to me. Mainly with women I've dated. Like, it'll be a chick I messed with 20 years ago or something like that. And maybe it didn't end on the greatest of circumstances. Or it was just something fleeting and non-memorable. And my brain literally erased that experience from my head like it never happened. It may as well have never happened if I don't remember it. It's literally a cabinet file of that person had residence in a cabinet file in my brain that was totally erased. Like the papers came out of it and they were burned and it doesn't exist. And I couldn't even recall, even if they started telling me, trying to walk me down who they were. On some 51st dates. My goal is to get to that level with some of these individuals. And even beyond that, I'm not saying I got to be their friends, but just understanding where they're coming from. Understand why they think or feel the way they feel. And just accepting that's just somebody that's just never going to be congruent with who I am. And accepting that, being okay with that. Not everything in nature fits together. You know, you can't plant a giant sequoia in a puddle puddle of lava. No matter how much you want to put that giant sequoia in a puddle of lava, it will never work. It just wasn't meant to be. Some things are oil and water. Some things are fire and ice. And just understand that. Recognize that. And be okay with it. I think one of the cornerstones stoicism is sometimes just accepting certain things just the way they are. It wasn't meant for them to change or fit into something that makes sense for you. That's just what it is. The sun is hot. That's just what it is. I mean, now it serves a purpose, you know, providing life to Earth, but you get what I'm saying. Some things it's not meant to like try to figure out how to make this different, how to make it make sense to fit your mindset, your paradigm. Some things that's just what it is. That person ain't your enemy. That person is a lesson. That person is a reflection. That person is something that can keep you on your toes so you can have the most optimal output. Not just so you don't hear their mouth, because you shouldn't do something so you don't hear a person's mouth. But if you maximize yourself and you become undeniable in certain ways, those people's voices in opposition of you become smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where they are non-existent, and that filing cabinet in your head of that individual is totally eradicated, and all the paperwork is burned, thrown down a furnace. This particular episode, it don't got a lot of viewers. I get it, and I understand it. Maybe the stuff is too heavy, whatever, but it's what's on my heart, what has to be said. And another thing, listen, I'm coming through. I'm making like a lot of psychological breakthroughs as of late, and it is very, very exciting. And the initial, like the old me, especially like when I was 14 years old, Jehovah's Witness, trying to preach to people, and I think I've learned something that can help the world. My original mindset was to try to preach to as many people as possible and try to convert as many individuals as possible through my words. But now the mindset, I would say lead by example, but to me that still entails the idea that I'm trying to convince people of something. Now the mindset is just to live. Just to live as optimally with these philosophies and these ideas and these techniques that I'm teaching myself and I'm learning. I'm doing a technique right now. Lower stomach breathing while twisting your abdomen. That loosens up your lower intestines, man. That improves your motility. Little things like that. The body is like a skyscraper. There's so like I deliver to so many construction sites, and if you just see like a skyscraper, it might take a few years to make. But I'm delivering like propane and stuff to these places, and I'm a part of that system going into building that place because you need the propane for the forklifts and different machinery to lift up to lift up the materials, right? But if you look at like all the wiring, the scaffolding, the plumbing, there's so many different things that are involved into putting together a skyscraper, and it takes years to come together and to be inhabitable for people. And I would argue that the human body, I think the human body itself, I could be wrong. I'm gonna ask AI afterwards how true this is, but I would argue that one human body, with all the cells and all the things that go into it, all the molecules, all the organs, the muscles, the tissue, etc., the atoms that compose it. One human body is more complex than every single building on this planet put together combined. And there are a lot of systems and things that are functioning to make these buildings work. Imagine all the systems and things functioning within the human body in order to make it work, or we just aren't conscious of it. And so in knowing this, you have to take care of it if you want the optimal work of it. And those skyscrapers, if nobody ever cleaned the ventilation ducts, then all the air that would be going through the building wouldn't be healthy. It would smell terrible. If nobody ever cleaned the windows, the sun would never get through. It would look dirty as well if they never power washed it. If nobody ever mopped the floors would be dirty and sticky and filthy. You know? If nobody ever upgraded the electrical system, you'd have power outages and things like that. If nobody ever flushed the toilets or cleaned the septics, it would smell terrible. And all these systems that I'm telling you are just microcosms of the systems that are within our own body. Very, 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 very intricate, very complex. But at a base level, it's simple. It's simple to take care of if you start with the foundation. Just like a building needs a strong foundation in order to stay standing, the foundation of living is breathing. And I promise you, if you control the way you breathe, you consciously breathe properly, take your time, especially in times of stress and distress, fear, anger, anxiety. I'm not saying it's the solution to the problem, but if you control that breathing, you give yourself an opportunity to think more clear-mindedly, if that's a word, be less impulsive. When your mind's clear, you can make better decisions. Be proactive, not reactive. You know? Used to rapping the Dirty Thursdays. Elevation, Constance. I'm more of a cleaner comedian right now. Um, I'm still gonna do it, but I don't curse as much in my jokes, in my content. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back into a lot of my dirtier stuff, and I'm gonna challenge my writing to deliver those jokes. Still have the same adult content, but not to be as profane with how I deliver it, because I feel like I'm a much, 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 much better writer and performer, and I'm a lot more thoughtful, right? And I feel like I have the ability to convey those same ideas in a method where I can make you fill in the blanks. I don't gotta blatantly say curse words and swears to get my point across, but I can still evoke the same emotion out of you from what I'm saying based on the passion of my words and the proper metaphors and similes that I use. The podcast is always changing, you know, and I got a limited amount of jokes, dirty jokes. So it's like, it just felt redundant, you know, kind of doing like the same stuff weekly. I'm really, really, really about writing this. Like the book is written, but like really, I'm really, really hyper focused on putting this book together, man. You know, but I'm glad you reminded me of that. I'm gonna challenge myself next week to do the Dirty Thursdays, but to do my jokes, I won't even practice because I know all my dirty stuff. But I'll deliver the material a little slower, and I'll see if I can come up with the metaphors on the spot of the different sexual and dirty things that I'm saying without saying the cuss words so that you fill in the blanks. You know who was a master of that in the 50s and the 60s? Red Fox. Red Fox was a dirty comedian. But if you look at his stuff from back then, he wasn't cussing. He was using metaphors for the things that he was saying. Because I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Lenny Bruce got arrested for swearing on stage at that point yet. So it was a crime to curse on stage back then. So you had to find clever ways of saying things. And, you know, more power to all the comedians that curse and want to, you know, saying they got to drop F-bombs and be emotional to get their stuff out. Hey, you do what you do. I did that for years, but my mind is just on some other stuff right now. And it's like, when you go to a different floor, I don't want to say higher because I don't want to make it seem like I'm above anybody. But when you're in a building, every time you go to a different floor or a different side of the building, and you look out, things look different. You see things differently. I'm on a different floor of my presentation of my artistry, so things look different. So my presentation is different. You know what I'm saying? Hey, with that being said, I hope y'all have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. And for all my young up-and-coming comedians, there's no such thing as writer's block. If the comedy guys have not given you anything new to scribe on that page, it's their way of telling you to work out the things they already gave you. Stay away from the nonsense, stay away from the negativity, stay away from the gossip, stay away from the rumors, stay away from the foolishness. Focus on the funny, lead with love, because life is not something that happens in spite of you. Life is an experience for you to behold, so get to beholding. And with that being said, y'all have yourselves a wonderful, wonderful evening. Peace. Let me park real quick. One thing that grinds my gears is when I'm about to get out of the car and then somebody parks right alongside me with their driver's side on this side, like two cops talking to each other. So if I try to open the door, they try to open the door at the same time. And that's just my pet peeve. Anyway, I'm out. Peace.